morning, everybody. Let me see if I can adjust this. Okay. I'm still asleep, so you're gonna have to forgive me. I am like so exhausted. So exhausted. But I want to show you. I am sporting my Moody Aviation shirt. I am so excited. So excited for my boy. We got up there last Thursday and did a tour of the facilities. It was absolutely awesome. But we'll dive into that in a second. For those of you that are new to Trayer Wilderness, my name is Tammy Trayer, and my family and I embarked on an off-grid journey a decade ago. The house I am sitting in, we sold on Good Friday. God sold our house on Good Friday. And we are gearing up to build our new home. Mountain Man has been really busy working on a log arch to pull the logs and the trees, and he's working on a trailer to house the sawmill so we can easily level it on the new property. And we are going to be hopefully cutting our very first tree in the next 2-3 weeks. So we've got a bunch of projects here that still need to be finished. But we will be taking you along on that journey and sharing the process with you guys as we build a traditional log cabin, but a very unique one. And it should be pretty exciting. And we'll definitely be building some muscles on that project. I am going to quickly share this with our Facebook page so that they can join in. I see some of you are on there. Feel free to share where you are joining me from and how things are going in your neck of the woods. Things have been pretty crazy, but I think that many of us are extremely busy and are faithfully moving forward is my hope anyway. That's what we are doing. And we will share more on that in a second. Let me just share this quickly. It is a gorgeous day in northern Idaho today. We have had really nice weather. It has been pretty hot a couple days, upwards of 100, but today it's a nice breeze and it's just beautiful. Okay. All right, so let's see who's on here. Good morning, my beautiful friend, Miss Tammy. I have something to share with you guys. I can't wait to share you this. I wanted to wait till she was present. We had such an awesome opportunity on Sunday. We had to run to pick up a wood stove, and it just so happened that the wood stove was in Montana. And it just so happened that by the grace of God, Miss Tammy and her family were in the same vicinity as we were at the same time. And it ended up we were where I picked up the wood stove and where we connected with them was a mile apart. So it was really funny. But I did get to meet up with Miss Tammy and her family, and you guys have got to see this. I'm like so excited. I have my machine plugged in because the battery's dying. So let me see if I with you. This is my handcrafted new apron that Miss Tammy gifted me and made for me. It is absolutely awesome, and I am like thoroughly excited because all of my aprons that I have right now are just waist aprons, and I ruin my shirts all the time. It never fails. So I am like so excited. I'm almost afraid to wear this and ruin it because it's so beautifully done. And I love the colors. It will match our new home perfectly, and you'll see me sporting that on a lot of new videos when I'm doing my wood stove cooking videos and sharing my different kitchen videos with you guys. So Miss Tammy, thank you. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it, and can't wait to start utilizing that in my new house. So excited. So the mountain boy may pop in here and we can share a little bit of time with him this morning and talk to him about his new adventures. And another bonus, Miss Tammy gifted me with all kinds of goodies from her garden. I had a fresh garden salad on Sunday night that was to die for. I've been enjoying some radishes, and we had collard greens in one of our meals the other night, and I am gearing up to make some rhubarb pie, so I am like so excited. So thank you very much for my gifts. They are fabulous and much appreciated. There is nothing better than fresh produce and greens from the garden. I cannot wait till we are producing our own. This year is just so crazy. You're gonna have to forgive me today. I truly feel like I'm like sitting here sleeping. I have been so tired since Monday. I just can't seem to stay awake. I am just exhausted. We've been running, and I think part of it is we established what part of it is. I have been running at such a clip and going from one task to the other to keep things moving forward, to keep the mountain boy heading off to school, to get his car repaired and all kinds of crazy stuff. And now this week is a slower pace. Although it's still insanely crazy, it's slower than it has been, and I think that's what's making me tired. Because I've been sitting in front of a screen this week working on his website, so it's just been a different crazy. But yeah, we went up Thursday to check out his school, and oh my goodness, what an amazing, amazing opportunity he has. It is just so incredible. So incredible. It brought me to tears several times listening to some of the stories that were shared and just seeing what he is going to be involved in, the state-of-the-art facilities they have and the equipment they have available to train these young men and women to repair planes and to fly the planes. They are one of only very few schools that teach mountaintop landings, and they showed us some of the runways that they land on, and it was just nuts. I mean, the runways were very short, very rough, and it was, you know, they have agreements with the tribes and the different people that they visit to keep animals and children off the runway, but he shared stories how at last minute touching down and a child runs out in front. You know, it's like, oh man, there's no room for error, and God was surely present that day. But it's just amazing what these kids have at their fingertips, and what the Lord is doing there. It is just fabulous. And to meet his new landlord and to see the house he's going to be living in, and you know, it's half a mile, 3/4 of a mile from the school and from the facility, so it's really just the ultimate setup and just so amazing. So I'm really, really excited for him and really excited about how God is going to use him. It's just fabulous. I think I saw Deb pop on here. Yes, good morning, Tammy and sweet sisters, from Deb in Washington. And how exciting. Thought of both of you all day last Thursday. Yeah, it was really, really awesome. And we had an exciting trip home. We had dropped Austin's car off to have just some maintenance done to it, you know, so that his car will be in tip-top shape for him for school and all the, you know, he won't have a lot of running around to do, but, you know, just wanted everything, you know, working well for him. And we didn't even make it the whole way home with his car. I'm not sure what exactly happened. We're still waiting for the prognosis on that, but he had to pull over and we had to have it towed. So not sure what's going on there, but hopefully they will repair the situation. But I mean, it's just been crazy, crazy stuff here between just all the running and going from one property to the other, getting things ready. We're really excited. We're getting our container tomorrow. That will enable us to move all of our belongings from the home so that we can finish what needs to be done here and not have to keep moving things. Plus, it'll give it, you know, it's making, the more we do up there, the more real it becomes. So we will be getting all that up there and in place. He's going to paint it for me. The mountain man is going to paint the inside. I don't do well with paint. The chemicals are just too much for my system. So he's going to paint it, and we're going to put some venting in it, and then I'm going to start manhandling stuff and getting stuff moved up there so that he can keep working on other things. So through levers and pulleys and ingenuity, I'm going to get things up there. I mean, there's going to obviously be times I'm going to need help with some of the big stuff, but I'm going to do my best to get most of what we have up there without the need for help. So I'm excited about that, actually. and just take a trip at a time and just get it all out of here. So it's really exciting. We moved a lot of our big stuff, like the trucks and Austin's Willie Jeep and things up there. I think it was last week or the week before. It's all becoming a blur. Thank goodness I'm keeping a journal so I can keep track of everything. But it's just been pretty amazing, and our weather's holding out for us, so this will be good. It's getting hot, so we will be doing a lot of our construction in the wee hours of the morning, most likely, as soon as there's enough light, and then in the evenings again till it gets dark, just to beat the heat. So it'll be an awesome process. I know we'll both be excited when we can dive in. And the mountain boy is actually talking about going up to school early. He was supposed to go on the 31st and then start school on August 3rd, but because he would just like to get acclimated a little better and not be so rushed, I think he's going to go up there the Monday before, which I think is the 20, I don't know, it's the 20-something, 24th maybe. I'm not sure. But so that'll be good for him, give him a chance to get used to going places and back and forth to the school. He's taking a bike so that he can save on fuel. Everything at this point is being entrusted to God as far as our funding and our finances, because the first year of school is so grueling in the academics, and there's not a whole lot of time to have a job. So we are close to getting bigger than Autism Live, and I think that is going to really skyrocket. It's really turning out well, and I'm excited about that. So I will share that with you as soon as I have everything in place. So how are you guys doing? I want to ask a question today of those that are watching now, and of course those that are watching the replay, because your comments on the replay is just as important. I want to make sure that we are answering your questions, and also, helping those that can't make it to the live episodes. But what are things that hold you back? What are things that cause you to be fearful? What are things that cause you to procrastinate? What are things that cause you to not step out of your comfort zone? I'm really curious, because in today's society and in our situations right now, I'm noticing and seeing that a lot of people are stuck and set in their ways, in that what they learned as a child, what they learned growing up, what they saw of their families, oftentimes provide a lot of limiting beliefs in that what you can and can't do. And therefore, as a result of that, we are kind of held bondage in our thoughts. And we are afraid to step out of what we feel is the norm. So, just because this is what's coming to mind, I mentioned a friend of mine who is deathly afraid of birds. She is deathly afraid of birds because her mom is deathly afraid of birds. So when a bird flies over, she totally runs for cover. And I've never witnessed anything like that before. And it's kind of crazy in that we allow such things like that to define us and to limit us. One of my favorite things is bird watching. I love watching the birds. My friend would have totally and completely freaked out the other day, because when Austin and I were we did a podcast together, and I interviewed him. I was sitting on the chair out there, and a hummingbird buzzed me and was hanging, just hovering right above my head, which to me was awesome. I love the birds. I love bird watching. I love hummingbirds. It just amazes me, the beauty of them, the uniqueness of each and every one, and God's creation there. So, but I use that as an example because, we limit ourselves based on what we know. And sometimes what we know is just what we've been exposed to. It's not that we can't do anything else beyond that. It's just that we haven't been exposed to more than that. And the way we need to focus on that and to overcome that is by being exposed to more. The more we expose ourselves to and the more we are willing to try, the more we will learn how confined we've left ourselves. And I'm seeing that with our society in so many ways, in so many different avenues. You know, there's a lot of people out there that won't kill an animal because they can go to Safeway to get that meat, and that's where meat comes from. You know, so just like the bird scenario, there is one very narrow view of where our food comes from. And I want to get you guys thinking today about that. And I want you to think about where you might be confined to your thinking and where you could change your thinking to enhance your abilities and your life and your thoughts. Deb says, mostly limited from my couple physical injuries, dislocated elbow in 2011 and torn meniscus in the right knee, and when going through change of life almost 10 years ago, it is 61 now. Okay, and you know, that is a really good point as well, because we do at times become limited by our physical abilities as well as our mental abilities. So that's a really good share, Deb. And you guys know I myself was in that boat, and in some ways still am, but I'm really excited to say that through this process, I can really see myself gaining strength again and regaining my abilities. I was helping the mountain man move railroad ties the other day to get them in place for our containers. Those buggers are heavy. We moved the wood stove out of a rental unit and into our Explorer the other day. You know, that was heavy. But it was also really gratifying for me that I was able to do what I was doing, because there was 2 years back I wouldn't have been able to do that. So again, you know, as we have our physical things occur, if we are willing to take the time to nurture ourselves back to health and really take the time to heal, there is often times where we can overcome those physical struggles. Sometimes not, but sometimes we can. And when we can't, there are things we can do, and that could be having to use different equipment, you know, maybe a four-wheeler to pull stuff versus something that we would have pulled ourselves years past. Now we need to use different equipment to aid us in the process. So we need to constantly be willing to adapt and overcome, and also to change. And oftentimes, for many, change is the hardest part of living, because change means that we are either going against the grain of what we know, or we are stepping into something new that's scary. But either way, I am very thankful I am made up the way I am, that I like the adventure, that I like the challenges that come to me. It's kind of like someone saying to me growing up, you'll never be worth anything, or you'll never be able to do that. Those words to me did not break me. Those words to me empowered me to prove them wrong. So I am thankful for the makeup that I have, that things don't stop me in my tracks, that they make me push harder and find other ways to make things happen. So if you don't have that makeup, which I know many don't, you can learn it, and you can adapt it, and you can try it. It will not be easy, because it will be going against what you feel is comfortable. It will also not be easy because it'll be going against the grain of what you feel is normal. But I like those challenges in my life, and those challenges in my life are what keep me going and keep me focusing faithfully forward and keep me heading in the direction that I want to be heading. The enemy is always going to want to pull us back, slow us down, and make us believe that we are not worthy. So we need to remember that, and try to adjust accordingly. I don't want to give him the opportunity to ever get a foothold on me. And oftentimes, those words coming out of other people's mouths that tell us we can't, or we won't ever, those kind of words, that's just the enemy using a human body to try to deter us. And we need to remember to keep pushing forward and adjusting, adapting, and overcoming wherever we can. Deb says, I'm 61 now and I've seen myself slowing down, having to be careful how I do things. It's frustrating for me, especially with very little help with my son gone all summer and now possibly longer. But I'm grateful to have my 5 acres with lots to keep me going, because always been my passion of gardening, ranching, outdoor lifestyle. I love adventure, getting out, experiencing life in his creation. Exactly. And you know what? There are going to be times where we are going to be limited and we can't do what we once did. But I think that if we keep focusing forward, keep focusing on the things that give us joy and pleasure, and maybe even seeking new things to fulfill the things that we can't do, I think that we will learn to adapt and to overcome and to find ways to keep doing some of the things that we want to do. I get that, Deb. I totally get that. And I totally get your frustration. I went from being hiking 21 miles in a day and lifting 75 pounds to not being able to walk a quarter of a mile unassisted, and not being able to lift a cast iron skillet when I was lifting 75 pounds on a weight bench. And that happened overnight. It was the craziest thing I have ever experienced. But I think that that was probably the best way, than it being a progressive thing for me, that it just happened. And, you know, sometimes we are forced into those situations, and God wants to remind us that he's going to use us where we're at, and that he is going to assist us as we go. I find that my to-do lists right now are daunting, but one of the other things I find is at the end of the day, it's all done. And it was a fun process. I'm really enjoying our journey right now, even though I am really, really tired. I am enjoying the process because, for one, I'm noticing that I'm able to pick up that pace again, and I'm able to do the things I couldn't do before, but also that I have purpose, and it's exciting, it's rejuvenating, and you know, he's leading the way. He's clearly leading the way in everything that we are doing. And if we put our trust in him to lead the way, things do get done. And sometimes they don't get done, you know, when we exactly want them to, because there are days where the to-do list doesn't get done and stuff does get bumped. But it does get done. And that may mean that, you know, like for Deb, and even in some of our situations, that what we once were able to do in a day is now prolonged and drawn out to a couple days. And it is hard doing the manual labor by yourself and not having assistance. So something that we could draw upon, because I know, like with us right now, the mountain boy is busy getting his stuff around and doing things. So, and he's going to be gone. So it'll just be the mountain man and I. But if we need extra hands, one of the things is that community that we build upon with our Christian brothers and sisters through church, through different outings. And some of you have not been able to go back to the actual church yet. Some are just starting to, some are reclosing. So it's hard to say. But the thing is, there is a community of God-loving people out there. And when we are in situations where we are unable to do tasks on our own, It may also take us to humble ourselves and ask for help. And we will probably be in that position because standing up our walls the way we are building our home, and I did say that it is a log cabin and it's not a stick build, but it's going to require us to stand our walls. And they are going to be excessively heavy. And if we don't have a backhoe to utilize to do that at the time, it's going to be pulling together a group of friends and community that are willing to help us stand those walls. So, there are times where we need to ask for help, and that the situations we are in are not limited by our mind, but by our physical abilities. And there is nothing wrong with asking for help. One of the benefits and one of the things I was thinking too, Deb, in regard to what you were saying, is that, we have the ability to teach the younger generation so that their minds are not as limited. And by pulling them into situations such as yours, maybe, where they could help do some of the manual labor and learn something while you are also getting the help you need. We need to try to educate the younger generations right now so that they do know where their meat comes from, and they do know how to bring in hay and to do the skills and the things that they may need to do to help our system and our society move forward, because I believe we're going to be stepping backwards in order to move forwards, if that makes sense. So keep that in mind too, that we can call upon our community. I know sometimes that we are probably reluctant to do that because we are pushers and like to do things ourselves. But at the same time, we are, by calling upon other people, we could help them learn the skills. So it kind of, you need to weigh it and see what works best for you guys. But I want to also just remind you to really think about things this week, because so often we have limiting beliefs based on how we were brought up. People think that because of where we live, that there are constant daily threats out here of animals and different things, but that's not necessarily the case. And again, that is a limited belief of someone that hasn't experienced this lifestyle. So when we're stepping into new adventures and new things, or we are in a place where we are finding ourselves stuck, we need to rethink and reevaluate and realize that maybe some of our being stuck is because of our limited beliefs, in that we can do certain things or can't do certain things. It's just like canning. A lot of people feel that canning is so scary and so dangerous, and they're afraid to tackle it, when really it's not near what, it's not those things. There are precautions, but there's precautions we have to take in everything we do, really, if you think about it. When you're using a knife, you could cut off your finger. We need to be willing to try things and work past the limiting beliefs of fear that come along with the tasks that we are attempting to try. Hope that makes sense. Deb says, so very true. You are a blessing to continue to remind me of this. I have to stop beating myself up at times. And getting upset when I trip and fall because my knees limits my movement. Oh, girl, I hear that. I had such a hard time. I had to walk with walking sticks for the longest time because my equilibrium was off and my footing was off, and I was probably more afraid of falling because everything hurt at the time, that if I would fall, I'd end up hurting myself more. And the beating, that you said the key thing there that we need to remind ourselves of, and that is that we are our biggest critics and are the ones that beat ourselves up more than anybody else will. I'm so guilty of that, and that is where when I was, when I was, just lost my train of thought. When I was flat on my back, You know, I was really tough and rough on myself at that point. I was very frustrated with the place I was, and that it happened overnight, and that I couldn't do anything, and that my family was all of a sudden thrown into this place of having to pick up my slack, and I was worthless and all those things. And I really wasn't serving myself well in any way, shape, or form. Are you joining me or not today?
I have things that I want to get done here. So.
All right. So if you get a chance, great. If not, we'll do something another time.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thanks. So when you're in these situations, remember to show yourself grace. You know, God is going to show you grace and mercy every day, all day. We need to remember to show ourselves that grace and mercy. You know, we really need to be kind to ourselves. You know, some days there's a reason we're limited. Maybe we're supposed to slow down. Maybe we're supposed to not be as fast and progressing into certain things. You know, there's purpose in everything. I'm a real believer in that. I am a true believer that everything is happening for a reason. And you know, when things happen, it's funny, I'm reminded of my own words when my mountain man will say to me, remember, there might be a reason that this is happening, you know? So we need to be constantly reminded of these things and constantly show ourselves grace and be willing to adjust and just keep moving forward. That is the key thing. But just focus at times too, though, on whether it's that we need to just accept where we're at and show ourselves grace, or are we working out of a limited mind? Because I'm seeing, and in this case, Deb, that's not your situation at all. But there's many out there that have a limited view and a limited mind and a limited amount of thinking on things. And when you hit that place, you don't need to show yourself grace. You need to step out and keep moving forward and keep stepping out of your comfort zone and trust that you are fully capable of doing whatever you set your mind to. That's a key thing, because, you know, so often we have accepted and just taking root where our limitations end, instead of attempting to conquer the belief system that we have. So keep that in mind. Let me see here. Deb says, I've been blessed with my 12-year-old neighbor boy who packed my irrigation pipes from top of pasture to bottom when needing to reset through waist-high grass, clover, vetch, alfalfa, and mowed yard. Nice. That is so nice, because gosh, all that stuff is so tangling and wrapping around your legs, and when you've got struggles with your knees, that's just not nice. So a 12-year-old is a great help. It's fun to bless him with a little money earned. He is an amazing young man and loved working. Unusual these days for most kids. Very true. And to feed upon that and to give him those opportunities, you know, because it's funny to see sometimes how people aren't willing to, you know, utilize the kids today, where many are eager and hungry to be utilized, one, to make the money and enjoy helping. You know, it's one of the things that I get a kick out of with Austin, is that he's got such a heart to help people. And, you know, I've seen that stunted so many times. And so when we can offer them that blessing too, you know, I'm sure he was really helpful to be useful to you. So that's awesome. That is awesome. Yep, God has a bigger plan most of the time. Yes, very, very true. Very true. And, you know, we've also got to look at it this way too. Sometimes the breaks that we are forced to take, whether it's because of our knees or you know, my inability to lift things, whatever the case may be, you know, it is because of divine intervention at times. You know, I think that God is also, you know, helping us to pause and to take breaks and to be good to ourselves when sometimes we're pushing ourselves too hard. I'm guilty of that at times also. Jeez Louise, boy, you're noisy. So we've got to know our limitations in this situation too. You know, sometimes we do have physical limitations, and sometimes by pushing ourselves, we can harm ourselves more. Other times by pushing ourselves, we can take ourselves out of a place and improve our health. Both can be true. You know, so we've got to have a good reading on our bodies and know our limitations, know what is a physical limitation versus a mental limitation as well. So once we are willing to really get a clear read on ourselves, like I'm very in tune with my body, I'm very in tune with my needs, and sometimes I know that I need to push myself harder. Sometimes I know that I just need to take a break. And when we are kind to ourselves in that way and accept those things, I think that we benefit ourselves so much greater than if we push ourselves too much and harm ourselves, then we set ourselves back. So this is kind of a mixed bag of nuts in that there's a lot of things you got to take into consideration when you are working on projects and when you are wanting to do new things. I feel that society as a whole is limited in their thinking and what they're capable of and what they're willing to push themselves through. Where there's another portion of us who have always been pushers and know our limitations, know where we're at. So you've got to find your place in all of this and in all that I've been discussing. But you're going to find, though, and I hope that at some point in life you will remember my words, because if you're on here now and you are young and you're realizing that you had limited beliefs, and then all of a sudden in your future you end up with an ailment that sets you back, that you realize that it's not the end of the world, that you just need to learn to adjust and overcome, and maybe rest in the place that you're at till God has healed you, and then you can progress moving forward. But there's a lot of aspects to this, but there's also, this is going to require you guys to really do some self-analyzation and really determining where you're at in what you're doing in life, and whether you can do more than you have limited yourself in your mind. So I hope all that makes sense. It's just that I'm seeing so many people being so limited by their upbringing. You know, I've met a lot of people that have grown up in the city. Thankfully, that was, I was in the city, but I didn't grow up in the city. And I had a farm life upbringing. So that has really helped me in my thinking, I think, early on. You know, you learn, being a farm kid, you learn to be a little bit more, you have ingenuity. You have to, in order to accomplish things. And, you know, you want to climb a tree, but you can't reach the first branch, so you got to kind of figure it out. Is there a bucket handy? Yep, there we go. I'm up in the tree, and that was the end of that. You know, you got to learn to overcome things. Where there's people that have grown up in the city and their mindset has always been being able to attain and do the things they needed to do because everything was physically available to them in their surroundings. Where we are hitting a time in our life where things may not always be that way. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, so that, you know, if you've grown up in the city and you haven't done a lot of different things in your life, now is certainly a time to start branching out and learning how to do different skills, learn how to do different things, learn about the surroundings other than in a city. Get out to the parks, explore the surroundings, explore the plants. But I want to encourage you guys to step out of where you're at, because I foresee things in our future that it's going to be necessary for us to be in you know, using ingenuity and and learning new skills and learning how to do things for ourselves and learning that we need to step past our own limiting beliefs, because when we start stepping out into these new ventures and these new things, we're going to learn that we're going to have to do that, and that we need to at times push ourselves and at other times, cater to ourselves. So learning this now, I think, is really important versus learning it when we are in a crisis situation. So it was just my thoughts for today. I saw some other things. Oh, Tammy says that sounds like Caleb in the morning when everything is quiet. Ha. I got a big smile out of him on that one. And Deb says, howdy, Mountain Man. Yes, the Mountain Man snuck in earlier and headed right back out, and I could tell by his motion that he was hurried, so I didn't stop him, but the Mountain Boy popped in here, and he's doing his dishes and doing some things. Deb says, best place to raise children with outdoors activities and chores and animals to nurture learning and responsibility. Yeah, I greatly agree. I'm grateful for the upbringing that I had. It planted roots. It taught a lot of things, and those roots are what drew me back. When you have that upbringing, a lot of times you'll witness kids balking and fighting and not really wanting to be involved. However, when they step out of the situation and they are doing something different, they realize how nurturing that environment was and how much they really did enjoy it. Miss Deb says, howdy, Austin. So excited for your new adventure.
Hi.
She said hi. You'll have to share, and maybe we can do a Q&A where they can ask you questions about your future endeavors.
Yeah.
Hope you get to connect with my friend Steven. We did connect with him. We have friended him, and I am dying to ask him questions. Austin has also friended him. That was Deb's friend that we connected with that was from Moody. So we will definitely be connecting with him. Austin has kind of been stalking him a little bit and looking at some of the places that he's gone, and he's envious of him fishing on some of these islands. So we will definitely be connecting with him. What's that?
I need to get my fishing rod out.
Yeah, it actually
is really behind a lot of stuff.
we'll get it. Connecting with Stephen actually inspired Austin to take his fishing rod along with up to Moody, because they are right there by I think it's the Coeur d'Alene River, so there'll be opportunities to go fishing. Plus, there's a lot of state parks both in Washington and Idaho. And when he got his renewal of his registration for his new vehicle, you have the opportunity to purchase a park pass for $10, which enables you to go to any of the parks in Idaho for free. So I know they will be doing a trip soon. The first year students will be doing a retreat, I think at the end of their first week already. So as long as COVID doesn't interfere with that. But he's looking forward to that and getting out. But what's really awesome is we've connected with a bunch of second year students, and one of which was from Africa, and I've been communicating with him a little bit myself, and then he messaged me back after we inadvertently met him, didn't realize it was the same person I've been communicating with. So I'd reached back out and mentioned now that I had put two and two together because of the dean sharing that we were the ones that he had met, and he reached back out and said to me that if we have any questions from a student's perspective, or that Austin has any questions, that he's there for him. And it's really awesome to see the camaraderie and the connection between the students and just the caring for one another. It's been really awesome. In his housing, the one fellow was from Arizona, the other was from Florida. The house associate is from Florida. This is his second year. And then the fellow from Arizona will be joining Austin in his classes this semester. So it was pretty awesome to meet some of the people that he would be connecting with, and they were really awesome young men. So really, really excited about that. Just excited what God is going to do and how he's using these guys. So How many are in the program, Deb asked. I believe it's 125 are first year students this year in the program. So that's a large number and pretty awesome. Let me see here. Oh, Deb said he's an amazing young man and loves the Lord so much. That's so cool. That's so cool. I'm anxious to start talking to him. Did you want to get involved?
No, I'm just waiting for,
Dad to stop running the water?
I don't think it's
Oh, is it George and Gudrun
probably.
filling their water? Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow, larger than I would have thought. Yeah, I was surprised too, but I'm pretty sure that's what the dean had said was like 125 is what they were expecting this year. And what's pretty neat is there's actually some students coming from Indonesia. So there's students that come into the program from all over the world. It's really pretty awesome stuff. So will be exciting to see how things go. And maybe he meant it was 125 in the entire program and not first year students. I'm not sure. I need to clarify that now that I'm thinking about that. Because the classroom is set up with 6 feet apart, front, back, side to side. There's not a lot of room in the classrooms for the students. So my guess is probably 125 total. But I could be wrong. They may have students doing the classes at different times than he is. So I'm not sure. I'll clarify that though, because that's a good question. Jeez, pretty awesome stuff. I wanted to put this out there for you guys. One of the things that Austin is looking for, he had a really good idea. For starters, we are taking his slow cooker up there, but I think it's only like a 2 or 3 quart slow cooker. It's a small one. And the guys got all excited because the way it sounds, there's 7 of them in the house and they all just kind of, deal with their own food and make their own meals. And what Austin mentioned this morning is that he is thinking about trying to see if they can all use slow cookers and take turns making the meals in the morning and be responsible for
I didn't
making.
mean just the slow cooker.
Oh, well, it certainly would be a good meals in general. All right. Well,
Whatever you have.
okay. So his thoughts were that they take turns making the meals for supper so they can all eat together and fellowship together. So I'm trying to get an 8 quart slow cooker, one of the big oval ones. I saw they have them on Amazon. So I'm gearing up to try to pull that together for him. And many have asked about supporting him. Some of you have, and I want to thank you guys greatly. That is just so awesome. But one of the things that we've put in place is being able to mail to him also. If you want to correspond with him, not just support him, but communicate with him with letters and such, you can mail to him at P.O. Box 10 in St. Mary's, Idaho, and the zip code is 83861. And if you did want to contribute to his ministry, you can do so by using the email donations@biggerthanautism.com, and you can utilize that through PayPal or through Zelle. And there may be other avenues. Right now, that's just what we have set up, but it's just pretty awesome. These kids are all there on faith, all of them. The one kid got there, the house associate said, I know the cost of the program, and I'm getting there, and I'm thinking that all these people must be super rich and just be able to pay their bills. And he said, when I got here and realized that all of us are there on faith, was pretty awesome. It's really awesome. And the dean even said that it's pretty amazing, that the kids will ask each other, so how are you paying for your next term? And typically the answer is, I don't know, because, they're working hard to school and just trusting God for the funding. And amazingly enough, it all appears through varying scholarships and grants and different things that become available, and also through the prayer list and friend list that they've created. So, that is one thing that we are creating for Austin, and that is a a prayer warrior team that is going to be available to support him in prayer from the beginning of this program to the end of this program. And I know that that is most of you folks out there, you folks that are joining me right now, I know that you guys are his huge prayer warriors, and we need that more than anything, is the prayer warriors just praying for him on this journey as he embarks on it and as he expands in this program. So I appreciate all the prayers from you guys and your support for him. It's just really, really amazing. Deb says if you can find a good deal on an Instapot, they are awesome. I'm loving mine. I have a Ninja Food. Please link or post that. Okay. And yes, I was looking at the Instapots too. There's 7 of these guys, and if they all eat like my men, good heavens. But I figured that those would be some good tools to have. Even if they use the Instapot to make rice, that would be enough rice to feed the whole crew of them. And I'm just thinking that if we can make things easier for them in the cooking avenue, they could join forces on food as well and need less food because they're making whole meals versus buying processed stuff. So those were our thoughts in the process. And yes, I will definitely share the link. How you making out? That just got opened if you want to close it. I think he was, I don't know if he was coming back out. My house is a zoo, can you see? I wanted to request prayers too. I did put a post out on our Facebook page, but I want to put a note here. Our dear friend Pat Kenny, who you've heard me talk a lot about, he has multiple myeloma. He had a heart attack on Thursday evening while driving, and had an accident, hit a car, and then hit a tree. God has definitely had his hand on him, and the fact that it all happened the way it did was an absolute saving grace in that, you know, he wasn't more injured in the accident. His heart was the issue. We've been talking about that over the last year, in that his heart weakened from the chemotherapy and the radiation. So they were able to put a pacemaker in for him. And I talked to his brother on Sunday or Monday I think it was, and he said that he's getting back to his normal self now that the pacemaker is put in and is doing well. I'm not sure if he's home yet. We've had limited access to information on Pat, but we have been praying heavily, and I just wanted to recruit you guys to keep him in your prayers. He is improving, he is doing well, but he does need a lot of prayers. And if you could also keep his son-in-law Mark. We've been talking about Mark over the last 2 years too. Mark also has multiple melanoma, and Mark's cancer has really deteriorated his bones. His spine is very brittle, and they had put a cage around his ribs to help keep everything in place and to hold everything in place. And he had been doing really well. As a matter of fact, the multiple myeloma is not showing right now. It's in remission, but he's dealing with a lot of back pain and a lot of pain. So if you could keep him in your prayers, I would so greatly appreciate that as well. And if any of you need prayers, please do not hesitate to include your prayers in the comments, or you can email me at prayers@trayerwilderness.com. But also keep Kelly and Courtney and Mike in your prayers. Courtney will need another MRI to check her tumor, and we are praying that her tumor just disappears. And Mike had his second stint put in and is doing well. If you could just keep him in your prayers for continued healing, and that his platelets go back to normal, and that they are able to just continue to progress in their healing. It's been a crazy several months for them, and they homestead very traditionally. So there's been a lot of work in the process as well. So if you could keep everyone in your prayers, I would so greatly appreciate it. And like I said, if you need prayers, please do not hesitate. Deb says, I can put 24 chicken legs or thighs with veggies and feed 8 to 10 folks, or 2 whole chickens in your Instapot. That's impressive. So it's a really large size. Would you also include the link to the one that you utilize? for me as well, because that's huge. I want to make sure that whatever I am able to get and attain, that it's something that they can really utilize and do things really well in. I was also looking into doing something that they'd be able to, and I know the Instapot you can do desserts and different things in as well, but wanted to be able to hook them up so they can do desserts and their meals really easily, so that when they are schooling and they come back, there's food available to them. They can eat and go to their schooling. I just wanted to be able to help in that way, because I know how hard it is, and the way they are talking, the way the dean is talking, he says that their grade point average typically drops by 0.75 their first term, just because of the amount of work involved in what they're doing. There's a lot of writing, a lot of college writing, a lot of reading involved, and so I want to just kind of be able to help in that arena and see them be more successful, because that's one less thing they have to worry about. So that's just my thoughts. But I appreciate you sharing that, Deb. That is huge. I don't own an Instapot because of being off-grid, but it is one of the things that I would like to try to utilize off-grid, because it doesn't take near as long as a slow cooker. Slow cookers take longer to cook, which makes your meals amazing, but if you don't have constant sun, you know, that the clouds come in, it's not something you can use off-grid, because it pulls 300 plus watts while it's running. So Deb says, yes, I will. I will be a bit later doing chores and getting things together to send to Sterling, my son. No worries at all. Appreciate your help. Thank you. I'm just going to read this and let you guys get on your way, and I am going to help the mountain man. He is working on building a trailer. He's built the trailer, and we put jacks on it so that we can easily level the trailer that's holding our sawmill. But we need to get the decking, so we're going to go forage some trees and then mill the lumber to create the decking, so that we can get this sawmill on it and up to the new property. And we've been waiting to move it because we knew we needed to mill this lumber for the decking. So once we do this, then we can get it in place and get it up there and be ready to roll. So that's pretty exciting. So I'm going to help him with that in a little bit here. But this is called Filling the Gaps. And if you wanted to read the references, it's Genesis 16, 1 through 6. Has God given you a vision that is yet unfulfilled? Has he assigned you a task that is still incomplete, though you've done everything you know to do? Waiting periods in our life often prepare us for God's purposes. Maybe there's a rough edge he must smooth, or a relationship he wants to restore before he'll fully accomplish his purposes. He could be plumbing the depths of your faith, expanding its borders and proving himself faithful. Sometimes he'll use these dry periods for correction, to steer a believer away from rebellion and back in a Godward direction. Remember, it's always wise to wait upon the Lord while he prepares us for his answers. At such times, we should continue to pray and trust, but it's essential to refrain from acting until we have heard from him. This applies even to counsel we've sought from godly believers. Their advice can prove helpful, but should always be brought to the Lord for his confirmation before we take action. Anything other than God's plan carried out God's way and in God's timing amounts to self-reliance. Depend on his spirit when deciding how to proceed. Any other course of action won't lead to the full and abundant life Jesus promised. I thought this was really good because, like with the mountain boy embarking on this journey at Moody Aviation, this is something that was heavily taken very prayerfully to God. If you've been following us a long time, you also know we do the same thing. Everything that we've done on this homestead has been prayerfully taken to God, and we've waited on his answers. And when his answers didn't come back the way we wanted them to, we realized that we were walking out of his will and needed to redirect. So I kind of felt this went hand in hand with what I was talking about earlier, in that, our limiting beliefs hold us back. And sometimes what we need to put together with those limiting beliefs that we may have is the prayerful request to God to help direct us, to help guide us, to help us do the things we need to do, to help us not be fearful to do things because of maybe our limiting beliefs. And then also when we have limiting situations, whether it's physical or mental or, financial even, to take it prayerfully to God for him to help us to handle the situations we may be now in. Me being flat on my back, that was something that heavily went to God's feet on a regular basis so that he could help me adjust mentally to that new place, but also to give me the courage and the strength I needed to be able to do what I needed to do next. So always taking things to God and understanding that he is the one that we are to be pleasing. Like it said about taking things to, godly people, that is really important too. But whatever their response is, we need to then take that back to God, because we have been misguided already, or I shouldn't say misguided. We sought godly wisdom, and then we jumped on that instead of taking it back to God and allowing him to help us sort it out. So remember that when you do get godly wisdom from godly people, that you still need to take it back to God, because God may have a plan different than their view. And remember, we are all of flesh. So our thinking is flesh-like at times instead of in a godly nature. In our circumstances, when we were in a situation where we had nothing, but we were still willing to step out and give of ourselves, those that we sought wisdom from felt that we were not being smart in our efforts, and that we were not thinking things through thoroughly, that God would never ask us to do that. But God asks his disciples and his children to do unusual things and to step out of our comfort zones and to step out where people of flesh would not. And we need to remember that. So combining this with our conversation in the beginning, we can go to really powerful places when we are willing to trust in God and seek his will and step out of our comfort zone when he tells us to jump and there's nothing there. Right now, a lot of what we've been doing is we've been stepping out in our faith, and there has been no rung to step on, but God continues to meet us and provide the next rung and the next stair tread on the stairs and the next rung of the ladder, So when we are willing to allow God to take us to those places, amazing things will happen. And trust me, guys, I know you've seen it already with a lot of what we've done already. And as we progress here, you're going to see it more and more. We take everything that we do very seriously, and we take it to God very seriously just the same. So I want to leave you with that today, and just remind you to keep seeking God in everything you do, to analyze your thinking, and that if your thinking is limiting you, don't be afraid to redirect your thinking, because you are capable of so much more than you may realize. And when we add the supernatural to it and add God to it, remember that all things are possible with God. So don't limit yourself, and keep faithfully moving forward. Those are my thoughts for you today. And those thoughts are for me today too, that I'm going to keep faithfully moving forward despite how tired I am. But I do feel more rejuvenated now than I had earlier, so I'm grateful for that. And we're just going to keep going and keep doing what God's opening the doors for us to do. So I'm going to say a prayer and let you guys get on your way with your busy chores and your busy day. Papa, I just thank you for your love, your mercy, your grace, your hand in our lives, your ability to turn natural situations into supernatural situations. And with you leading the way, that is what our lives will be like forever if we allow you to lead and guide. And I put my family at your feet every morning and just ask you to guide our steps and guide our paths and guide our decision making. And I ask that you assist and aid those following today and watching the replay to do the same and to learn to put things at your feet and be willing to leave them there and not take our hands back into matters that don't belong to us but that belong to you. You know, when we've worked things out as much as we possibly can and nothing changes, that's when these things need to be put at your feet, and we just need to step back and watch you work and watch you do the magic and add the supernatural to the things that we are wanting to accomplish in our lives. And sometimes that will mean that we are going down a different path than expected, and sometimes that means that you just clear the way and the debris and the path that we're on. But we just thank you for what you're going to do. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for answering our prayers and being there for those in need. Be with Deb and help her with her knees and her physical limitations. I know that too well, and I thank you for healing my body and helping me progress. And I ask that you do the same for Deb. And I just ask that you be with Pat Kenny and heal his body, heal his mind, and just thank you that no one was injured and that he was not injured any more than what he was, and just for your amazing hand on him. And just be with Mark, heal his body, heal his bones, and just remove the pain from his body. And Lord, I just ask that you be with my boy and just continue to guide and direct our path and guide and direct our choices and getting everything in place for his new venture. And we just thank you for your love and your mercy. Thank you for all you're going to do in all of our lives. Just be with Kelly and Mike and Courtney. Just help them to accomplish all things that they need to, and just be with them, provide for them, and just thank you for what you've done so far. And just thank you for the continued healing that you're going to do in their lives. And Lord, I just ask that you put a hedge of protection over everyone. Help us as we walk out our day to day, and just thank you for helping us to learn to keep our eyes on you. We love you and ask all this in your holy and precious name of Jesus. Amen. Okay, guys. I will let you get back to your days. And I wish you a good week. I wish you success in everything that you're doing. And we will continue to do this every Wednesday. Hopefully I will be more lively next Wednesday than I am today. If you could just keep me in your prayers and the Mountain Man for renewal and strength. And you know, we've been sleeping really good. That has been a godsend. We lay flat and we just sleep. We wake up to the alarm, but it's just the waking up part has been the harder part for me. I noticed that my eyes were swelled this morning, so I know that my body's just possibly processing silicone again, and I'm just going to keep doing what I can do and keep moving forward and keep paying attention to the limiting beliefs that my mind might have. Thank you very much, sweet friend. Tammy says, always praying for you all. God bless. Praying for you as well. I love you all. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was encouraging. And I just wish you guys a very safe and healthy week. And we will meet again next Wednesday. And in the meantime, if you need something, leave a comment, message, and we will be there for you and praying for you all. So love you. Have a fantastic day. Keep moving faithfully forward. God bless.